Welcome to The Ride with Chevy and Nasty. Host Randy Chevrier and Sheldon Napashka guide you through great stories that spark great conversations. Two really big guys talking a big game. The boys are locked in and ready to go. Welcome to The Ride.
Welcome to The Ride, everybody. It's episode 53, Chev. And you know what else it is? It's our second show this week, coming off of a big event, which we'll get to in a little bit. A lot of you guys were able to join us. A lot of you guys caught it. But what?
Now, wait a second. Because I just woke up here. I've been exhausted today. I just woke up. Is it episode 53 or 52? Because I like we said that the Grey Cup special that we did on Sunday was our 52nd consecutive live episode. But as Trey points out, this is actually technically 52.
That throws off everything, Chev. We had number 52 for the Calgary Stampeders brought in just for that game, Aaron Crawford, which we'll get to in a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe this is 52.
You know what? This could be 52B. It could be 52B. You know what? It's Aaron Crawford B. He gets 2 episodes. He was such a good guest. But you know who else was number 52? Ray Lewis. There you go. Comes up right there. Ray Lewis was 52. No one else really, if no, but yeah, you can't have a 52 without mentioning Ray Lewis. So I'm gonna go, I think, on record as saying this is the 52nd consecutive episode of The Ride live on Tuesday night, brought to you by Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, and YYC Business, which is where you can find us, guys. As Sheldon mentioned, we had a great time on Sunday. We're going to get to that in a bit, but we're also going to tell you now what we got in store for tonight. Sheldon.
Well, as always, we're going to kick it off with a little 300-pound poetry, but then we've prepared a few clips and a few photos of the event at Hitmen's Bar on Sunday, and tell you a little story. We had our first little controversy there where, we thought everything was going great, but we actually had a bit of a dine and dash experience that we had to cover for. We'll tell you about that.
What else we got? Studs
and
duds?
We got studs and duds. We've got the blitz questions, but of course we got to break down the game too, because
we're going to talk about the game.
Anybody that watched it, guys, everything that happens from Sunday till now and a little bit before that, we're going to be covering today. It's going to be a good one. We got some good stuff for you. My favorite though is Chevy's going to bring in his movie knowledge and ask a very important question about sequels, but you're going to have to wait till the third for that one. But yeah, I think we got a good one for you guys.
Yeah, let's kick it off the way we always kick it off, Nasty, with a little bit of a 300-pound poetry. What do you say?
Let's do it.
And now, 300-pound poetry with Chevy and Nasty.
Sometimes we laugh. Sometimes we've even cried. It's always an adventure when we take you on our ride.
Sunday was a test of teamwork, passion, and overcoming obstruction. No, we're not talking about the Grey Cup, but our live Chevy and Nasty pregame production.
Many of you showed up to support our Chevy and Nasty cause. We were humbled at each commercial break when you'd burst out into applause.
We heard from John Bender and Crawford, and of course, the Hitman too. He said he would have rather played in the CFL than wrestled when he was a kid. Who would have knew?
Capped off with the championship game to the hype, it certainly lived up as the Argos dispatched the Bombers and hoisted Earl Grey's Cup.
We're your 300-pound poets. Each week we do our best to finish the show on time, but we almost always fail that test.
We certainly do. We certainly do.
Thanks, Ray.
You know what? We do fail the test, but I would say that Sunday we didn't fail the test on many counts. We didn't fail the test. For those of you that follow us, you know that obviously our show is live every week from 10:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Those of you joining us, thank you for joining us. Between Jamin, Rubio's here, a couple of others in the chat, but you guys know that we're here every Tuesday night, but on Sunday we tried something different. Crazy harebrained idea that we put together in about, what was it, Sheldon, 10 days?
8 days.
8 days.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, there. Yeah. 8 to 10
8
days. It was
days
fast.
from cradle to grave. Reached out to Bret the Hitman Hart when I found out that he was going to be hosting a Grey Cup party at his bar, the Hitman's Bar, in downtown Calgary. And I said, why not? And it was one of those why nots. Why can't we do a pregame show live in front of a studio audience, beaming to the internet? Why can't we do it? How hard could that be?
How hard could it be? Exactly. Well, as it turns out, folks, it's very, very hard. It's not like Chevy and I were like, Chev did reach out to Bret. Bret texted him right back saying, yeah, sounds like a plan. Let's do it. And we're like, oh my God. Okay, I guess we're gonna do it. So
okay, wait, can I
go ahead.
I was gonna say, can I tell you what I was doing when I reached out to Bret the Hitman Hart?
Yeah.
So here, I don't know if other men do this, but I'm a hairy Italian guy. I got a lot of body hair, and I like to groom, to keep myself feeling aerodynamic, when I'm in the pool swimming. So I was actually like clipping, like the dad in what was it, Malcolm in the Middle, the clip in the back hair, and then I was doing the man grooming. Okay, I don't know if any man groomers out there. I was man grooming, and I had my phone on as I was grooming, and I saw this Instagram ad. So I had the shaver in one hand, and I'm texting the Hitman Hart in the other hand. Like, what a great time to mowing the grass, Rob Evans. I was mowing the grass. As I'm mowing the grass, I'm like, yeah, this is a great time to text the Hitman. So I texted him while I was mowing the grass, and lo and behold, I got the answer. Sorry, I had to put that out there because I find it funny that moments of inspiration can come at any time, even when you're grooming and manscaping. Sorry, Sheldon, continue.
Oh, yeah, I just, it got me wondering. Maybe he's doing the same thing. I mean, maybe you guys were connected on some cosmic scale. But anyway, yeah. So Bret texts back right away and says, yeah, why not? And Chevy throws it into our team chat. And then, we go, okay, Trey, so what do we need? We need our laptops and we need your computer there. He's like, no, boys, this is different. And I'm not even going to try to explain to you how it's different, but within the next 48 hours, we had actually contacted a film crew that Bruno, our sponsor, was good enough to set us up with. We had to go into this quick production meeting, brought all the gear. Nothing worked at first. Had to rejig it because we're taking 3 different systems, trying to combine them into one. Figured it out. The next day, we had another test run with it all hooked up live. And then the following day was Sunday, where we had to see if it worked at Hitmen Studio. And I'll tell you what, guys, it was a learning curve. There wasn't a whole lot of sleep the 2 days leading into it. But you know what? Lo and behold, with a couple of glitches, even pre-show, it worked. And they had us. You see that? Look at that set. Chevy and I are always two talking heads out of our own studios in our own homes. This was pretty awesome to get on there and see a crew of 5 people working with lights and cameras and sound and PA systems. And, it was pretty exciting to see that it was actually going to work.
Yeah, it was cool. And we got to give a big shout out to Jamal Ali, who actually appeared on the episode. He's the GM and co-owner of the Hitmen's Bar. He was the one that Bret Hart put us in contact with. And when we walked in on that production meeting, I believe it was last week, maybe on Wednesday. Yeah, it was Wednesday. We walked in. Jamal was, first of all, a gracious host, and he didn't know what he was getting. And when he saw that we were trying to figure it out on the spot, remember, like we had like 5 or 6 people, just how are we going to pull this off? He didn't second guess. He didn't say, who are these clowns? He was like, this is going to be awesome. And he jumped on the ride right away. And because he jumped on, we had the confidence that we're going to do it. He got his tech guy, Warren, to make sure they ran the internet cable that we needed. Then, like you said, Bruno and his team at YYC Business, from Adam Colazetti to Boyan, Marcus, connecting with Trey. Like, man, magic happened. And, we talked about in the poem, teamwork, passion, dedication. It really took a lot to put that together. And I got to tell you, on a personal note, I was nervous. I was stressed. I didn't sleep the night before because I wasn't sure going to pull off. But I tell you what, I was excited. I was excited because it brought me back to when we did live weekly shows, whether it was Monty's Crab Shack, if anyone remembers that, or Nick's Steakhouse. It brought me back to time where we were in the room talking sports, having fun. There was people watching. There was a vibe. There was an energy.
Yeah.
And even better than the old days, because now we were doing it on video. We had lights. We had camera. Before it was the radio. So I was super excited for what we pulled off, how we pulled it off, and with who we pulled it off. And the show was great. You know, like I think we're tooting our own horns. I put on an Instagram post and a Facebook post saying, you know what, that was growth for us, and growth is scary. You know, we're both really busy guys. We both have kids. We both have partners. We both have work. We both have things, responsibilities that get in the way of us doing this hobby. And that was a step. It was a little bit of a leap off a cliff, a leap of faith, but we did it with a team, and it was fun.
Do you know what I think it was? Is taking it from that hobby, or taking it from, hey, let's get on the air. And it's, you know, I feel great that we've committed to 52 straight episodes. But the guys that we were working with weren't hobbyists. And it kind of reminded me of, you know, when you go into the hospital and your wife's having her baby and you're just surrounded by a team of professionals, or when like on game day, when you were the Stampeders and everybody had a role and everybody knew what to do. I was blown away by how technical it was and by how good these guys were at their jobs. And they made it look easy. And every time we made a request, and you could see the wheels just turning, like, boys, that's not possible. But they were able to tell us exactly what they could do, what they couldn't do, how we're going to find our workarounds. And you know what? We pulled it off.
We did. And I was going to say, guys, if you're listening or watched it, let us know what your favorite segment, favorite piece of information you got from that episode, because I think we have a couple. Sheldon, what was your favorite? You know, whether it was an interaction between you and I or one of our guests, what was kind of the favorite point that you took away, or that you got from that? You're like, oh wow, that was awesome.
I can go to there's a lot of little ones along the way. One was just like, we've had Bret Hart on before, right? Where you talk to him and it's amazing. But I'll tell you what, guys, when you're sitting there at a table and you're like shoulder to shoulder, and you ask Bret a question and you're trying not to stutter and stammer, because there's a certain amount of starstruckness that goes into that, right? That you're sitting there touching the champ and he's like sweating on you and breathing you. You can smell each other's breath, and he just turns and he looks at you with those eyes, and he's so intense. And he was so gracious in his answer. Like, he's looking at you, listening to every word you say. He thinks about it. Then he makes, then he gives you a response. And what kind of struck me is he's got a sense of humor.
Yeah.
Like, and when he says something, Bret never like sits there and laughs, ha, 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 ha. But Bret will look at you and he'll give you one of these, like, he's got this little face that shows you that, like, that like he's being funny. And he just communicates so much without bringing the intensity that he did on the stage. But
for me, I was going to say, it was, first of all, thanks to John Bender and Aaron Crawford for showing up. They gave some great insight. Bender gave some awesome analysis, both on the game and the league. And we got some clips online at Chevy and Nasty on Instagram and Facebook and all those places where we post. But my favorite part was asking Bret about football. And he talked about his connection to football, and where he indicated that in many cases, he would have rather have been a football player than a wrestler. And for me, that was incredible, because for my entire career and life, you know the story that I almost quit football to become a wrestler. And I still dream of wrestling, thinking it's this great, glorious thing. And here is one of the greatest athletes of all time in his sport saying he would have rather been doing what I did. And that for me was like a wow moment. And he talked about his dad playing for the Eskies in the 1930s. But the thing that struck me the most, and we'll move on to the experience of the evening.
Yeah.
The thing that struck me the most was when he snuck in to the room, and it was dark in there, so you couldn't necessarily see. Most people had their eyes fixated on us. We had the big bright lights in our face. We couldn't totally see. I saw that he was sitting right in front of us, and I mentioned that he was going to be on next, and I pointed out, hey, the Hitman's right there. When we went to commercial break, every other commercial break before that, it was loud. People were excited, cheering. That commercial break, when I said that Bret Hitman Hart is coming on next, he's sitting right in front of us, you could hear a pin drop. And there were people our age, older than us, and they were all there, not only to see our show, but also to meet the Hitman. And they didn't realize he was sitting right amongst them. And it was such a crazy, surreal experience. Did you get that, Sheldon?
yeah, you know what? It was right when you said, well, he's sitting right there.
Yeah.
And I paused and I got the goosebumps because I didn't see him. The lights was right there. And I actually stopped talking and I started looking over the light, and I was like, I made eye contact. I'm like, oh my God, he's here. And We'll tell the story now about Kurt Panu. He asked me, he came in and he sponsored the event because of course there's production costs. We had some people that were really gracious to help us make this thing happen. Kurt was one of them. And Kurt had lost his dad in the last 2 years. And he'd always said, and I know Kurt, he's actually my wife's cousin. I know the guy well, great guy. And he said, I had two heroes growing up. I had my dad and I had Bret the Hitman Hart. And he can recite speeches and he knows, he was saying, September 12th in Saskatoon was when he won this belt. And then, that the next day he went to reach, he was telling me all these personal stories that nobody except for the uber wrestling Bret Hart nerd knows about. And he just wanted to be a part of the day. So after the event, what really hit home to me was when we got him into the line to meet with Bret, he brought his replica belt that his wife got him for his 40th birthday. I mean, he's a grown man and he still loves this guy. Oh, pretty sweet. He brought the belt he made out of cardboard when he was 8 years old. Yeah. And he brought Bret's book and he brought a picture that Bret actually signed when he was 10. And we got him in the front of the line to meet Bret first. Bret spent 7 minutes with the guy. 7 minutes. He hugged him. He put him in a headlock. Dude, let's just show. I watched a 40-year-old man break down in tears at meeting Bret Hart, and that just hit me hard. Trey, do you have that clip? Can you play that for us? I mean,
that's awesome, Sheldon.
That's amazing. That's a grown man reliving his childhood, and Bret's making it happen and lets it happen. I mean, it's crazy to me. That just I was like tearing up watching that.
Yeah, no, I was pretty stoked. I mean, when you do something like we did, we did it because we just want to continue the ride, right? Do something a little different, do something a little crazy. It's been a challenge, right? We challenged ourselves always to do something, have fun. Something that gives us fulfillment. One of the things that gives me fulfillment is seeing other people's joy. And I had joy from our show. I had joy from our team that was there. Our show, it was high fives all around after. We were pretty happy and everyone was happy, but the day lived on between when our show ended and the Grey Cup halftime show when Bret Hart came out to meet the fans and Kurt Panu. It was a moment or a day to just get together as men, hang out, do the things that we set out to do, bond. We bond over the common love of football and wrestling and Bret the Hitman Hart. But to see Kurt's, who I never knew before, like obviously I know he's a follower of the show, but to see, to give someone an ability to live out their dream, for me, that was very special. Like I was like cheering for Kurt. I know a bunch of guys that are CFL fans to that degree. If you talk to Bruno and he's been on the air, if you get him talking about the Yankees, he would be that guy if he met Derek Jeter or one of the famous Yankees. Like we all have that. And to see it lived out for Kurt, couldn't be more happy. First of all, thank you, Kurt, for stepping up to help us put on that production because we didn't even know what it was going to be. And here we are. We created this amazing moment for both Chevy and Nasty, our followers and people who came and watched the show, but also for people that came for the experience. And I thought that was amazing. And that's a part of what we wanted to do, is have a place for men to connect, to bond, to just be free to say, hey man, the Kurt said it a number of times. He's like, I'm a 40-year-old man. I'm pretty well off. I'm established. And here I am crying like a baby because I met my hero. And he was so gracious. He thanked us all, but no, it was really a great experience. And I think that's what this show aims to be. It's like, let's take people somewhere. We don't know where the next stop is going to be, but we're definitely excited that we pulled it off. And we know that there's big things to come. But when you leave, guys, you got to pay your bill, right, Sheldon?
Yeah, you got to pay your bill. I mean, that's the one thing. If there's a black mark on the whole event, right, just a skid across the front of it. I was sitting there. It was right after Kurt arrived. I'm sitting at a table with Trey and Kurt and Jamin, the guy in the blue mask, and just talking about the day. And all of a sudden, our waitress came up, our hostess, I think it was, came up to us and says, "Oh my goodness, wasn't that guy with the cowboy hat with you guys? There's a guy with the cowboy hat that totally just walked out of here without paying his bill. Guys, you got to help me out." We're like, "Guy with a cowboy hat? Well, there's a few guys with cowboy hat." And he's like, "Wait, was he wearing a vest?" Trey says, "Yeah." "Was he about this tall?" "Yeah." "Dude, that's my dad." So, so we had a little bit of infamy at the event too. And Trey's own dad, I don't know, maybe he was thinking Trey's like the big shot now, rubbing shoulders with Bret Hart, so maybe Trey's just going to pick it up. But yeah, we had our first dine and dash at an event, Chev.
Well, Chad Smith, the dine and dasher, guilty as accused by your son. But you know what? Listen, I'm a dad. Trey's not yet a dad. You don't have many opportunities in your life where you get to stiff your kid with the bill. And I actually thought it was a great move. I thought, you know what? He knew Trey was there. He knew Trey was the big dog. Trey did an amazing job producing the show. If we haven't said it yet, we're saying it now. We mean it. And your reward for doing such an amazing job, Trey, is you got to pay for mom and dad's bill. What a great Sunday it is for you.
And I will say this, you know how you reneged on our bet on the poutine when I won the CFL championship for picks this year?
Yeah.
And you're like, it wasn't really bad. I don't know. Trey stepped right up, pulled out his gold card or black card or blue card, says, "Don't worry, I'll handle it." And he took care of it for his dad. So Trey's a good son, had a big day, and he took care of business, and he did it the right way.
Yeah, no, he certainly did. Guys, it was a great experience. If you haven't seen the episode, you might not want all the Grey Cup tidbits, but we told some good stories about the championship game. Aaron Crawford covered, the fact that he lost it twice. I talked about the story that I didn't play in the Grey Cup game that year. There's a lot more than just a Grey Cup preview and stats. So you can go back and check that one out. Again, it was a step forward for us. I'm not sure where we're going because that's the ride. We never know, but we definitely show we can pull something like this off. We're definitely excited to do something like this again in the future with confidence that it can be done. But again, back to the fact that at the core, it was an event that brought people together. We very rarely, Sheldon and I, sit in the same room and get to have dinner and a drink together. And Daryl and Bruno and Trey, and it brought some great people together. It put me in contact with new people. I got to meet Darcy and Kurt and a few other people that showed up, and it was awesome. And that's what we're about. And one of the things we neglected to mention, I mean, in the past we were a little bit more, I guess, forthright with the Movember movement. It's November. They always talk about Men's Health Movember, testicular cancer, prostate cancer, mental health, suicide prevention. We didn't really do it. I got a little mustache that I grew this morning. If you could see it, that literally took me a morning. I'm not participating in Movember like I have in the past, but it is a month for awareness for men's mental health causes. And we couldn't do an episode in November without bringing back an oldie but a goodie that you guys like and many of you asked for, the Macho Dad. So we're going to go to break now with a little ode to Movember and bring it out to break with the Macho Dad. We'll be back in a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mean Don here in the basement of Don's Hobby Shop. It's the month of November, Men's Health Awareness. We've brought in a special guest to talk about Movember. The Macho Dad, Randy Damage.
Oh yeah, the Macho Dad. Welcome back. Never fear, the Macho Dad's here. Me, Don, your trash is trash, mine is flesh, and I'm here to raise some cash.
Well, that's great, Randy. And it's very nice of you to dress up for the occasion. That's very nice, kind of a feather scarf you have right there.
You want to touch it?
As a matter of fact, I would.
Well, you can't, because it's a champion's prerogative right there. Yeah, me, Don, you don't want me to touch your tie, do you? Respect my personal space.
Okay, Randy. Can you tell us about Movember and what it's all about?
Well, Movember is a movement to raise awareness for men's health issues. We're talking about prostate cancer. We're talking about mental health, which clearly I don't have a problem with. Suicide prevention and testicular cancer. You didn't think I'd articulate that, did ya? Yeah, I'm a college grad. Yeah.
Wow, that is impressive, Randy. And I see you brought a little science experiment here to show the people.
Yeah, I want to show the maniacs back home What I mean when men's health issues were at the bottom. You see, me and Don, I brought a little bit of olive oil.
Olive oil, yeah.
Extra virgin, just like you. Yeah, see what I did there? Pour the olive oil in. See that? That's men's health. Right at the bottom, right there. Oh, testicular cancer, prostate cancer, mental health, and suicide awareness. Right at the bottom. And for years, me and Don sat at the bottom. Nobody talked about it like the Macho Dad. But right now, check this out. Like this. Hold this for me.
Okay,
Don,
okay. All right.
just like this. Look at this. This is what Movember is. Movember, we bring the issues right to the top. Check that out. Check that out. I mean, just give it a minute. Just give it a minute. I went to high school. Science, I did this. Check this out. Fill it up with some water. Stir it up. Now look what happens to the men's health issues. They flow right to the top. To the top! Yeah! Dig it! And when they're at the top, we can tackle those issues, me and Don, just like that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, friends. Randy Damage with a special message about men's health.
Yeah, dig it! Yeah.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
That always makes me laugh, man. That was honestly like, that's so good. That cracks me up. Good job, Kev.
And you know what? I know that we have to bring the Macho Dad back, Randy Damage. I've done him a few times and we've gotten the requests. We're gonna work on that. We're gonna work on how did I choose which feathered boa to wear? Well,
easy. His other ones were in the laundry. He does this all the time, Rubio. It's horribly embarrassing when you're his roommate, but really funny when you see it on film.
Yeah, no, we'll bring the Macho Dad will make an appearance. I think, you know what, he'll be a regular character as we do this. But yeah, to just recap, I mean, it was fun. It was something I did a few years ago for Movember to raise money. Like I said, I'm not doing it, but the awareness to the cause, and that's really what this show is. If you look at the roster of people that showed up, 90% of the people in the room were there were men. We always talk about it. Even you and I bringing this show was really a nod to, in a sense, I would believe, my mental health, and also future-proofing my mental health, to say, hey, let's do something that gives me joy, so that even if I can't move and I can't walk and I'm old, I got my buddy on the other end. We could talk sports, we can have fun, and somehow we managed to get to a spot where we go live. Much like I'm sure Rubio and AC and all those guys we know did the Super Bowl event last year. We weren't able to go. This for us was a big deal. It was our Super Bowl, right? You know, we weren't in BC, but for us, this was a big deal. And having a guy like the Hitman, man, I was, you know, he's a friend of mine. I hesitate to say he's a friend of mine, because it's like, how can your icon be your friend? But he's a friend of mine, and he showed up. You guys showed up. Nasty, you showed up. I want to give you kudos for a great day, and it was fun. And we couldn't have shown up that day if it wasn't for Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, YYC Business, Megapix, Atlas Mortgage Group stepped up, and of course, as you mentioned, Kurt Panyo. I also want to give a special shout out to Jamin. He's listening tonight. Jamin was there. He was in full costume. He was taking pictures. People were taking pictures with him. I know there's a video that he put together the day, and I know we said we'd play it at the end, but there's people listening now. They're on live. I want people to see what Jamin put together. I feel it should be a special honor to a guy that showed up. And, I've met Jamin twice now at the men's mental health movie night. I met him on Sunday. I know he's one of your best friends. I can't wait to taste his burnt ends. They've been promised, like I've promised this Palumbo sandwich to you, but they've been promised. Trey, can you roll the little clip of the day that Jamin put together for us? Because I think it's fantastic. And thank you, Jamin.
On the phone, stare at the screen, doing the job, living the dream, getting paid. Yeah, right. Thinking about what I'll say to prove that we should go out for a laugh or two instead of going home.
That was awesome.
It was awesome. And you know what? One more shout out to Hitmen's Bar. I didn't shout them out. The show ended. We went in the bar. We got to just hang out. I haven't done that in a long time. Just hang out for a day, watching football. There was NFL on some of the screens. There was TSN pregame. But in the, I guess, early parts of our show, Jamal Ali, the manager of Hitmen's Bar, comes on, and we asked him what are the favorite foods. He mentions the steak sandwich. He mentions the grilled cheese, which is Brett the Hitman Hart's favorite. He mentions the sharpshooter drink. And did you have a chance to sample any of that, Sheldon? Because the food is important. We got to talk food.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, halfway through the night, Chef K came out of the kitchen and walked around and checked on all of us to make sure everything was good. Wings were on special. I heard the steak sandwich was great. But when he told me that the Brett of the Hitman Hart grilled cheese sandwich was Brett's favorite, and he downs 15 of every time he comes in, I had to try that one. It was amazing. It was a grilled cheese, but it had arugula, Roma tomatoes, a bunch of other stuff, and it dipped in this tomato basil sauce. Dude, it was fantastic.
So you got one.
I listen, when the guy whose name is on the sign says you've got to eat this, that's the first thing I got.
But this is the crazy thing, because throughout the day, depending on who I talk to, people were like, "Oh, there's no more grilled cheese sandwiches." And then an hour later, I see someone eating a grilled cheese sandwich. I'm like,
no, you got to know Brett. You got to talk to Brett. Brett set it up.
Well, I'll tell you what, I had the steak sandwich because Jamal Ali, he declared it online the best steak sandwich in Calgary. And I thought, okay, I got to try the best steak sandwich. And it lived up to its billing. That steak sandwich was legit. I almost ate two. And I know Daryl, I don't know if Daryl ate two. I don't think he did, but he was going to. I've never been in a bar actually long enough to eat two meals in a bar. I felt kind of weird. I had lunch because I hadn't eaten anything and I was up all night. I was like, yeah, I'm going to have a steak sandwich. And I literally ordered everything. I had steak sandwich, fries, salad, the Caesar salad with bacon, real bacon, and the soup. I'm like, this is going to hold me off for the rest of the day. By the time the game hit, I was like, man, I need another steak sandwich. So I wound up eating the steak sandwich around lunchtime, and around dinner time, I had the pork, grilled barbecue pork, rice and veggie bowl. Man,
I saw that looked good. I was like, you walked away for a second. I was like just about picking at your bowl, but you came back just in time.
And as for drinks, I got to tell you, I had the sharpshooter, which I enjoyed, but there was the Hitman from Romero Distillery rum and Coke. Man, it was good. It was good. It was a great night. It was a great night. But we can't talk about a great evening without talking about the game.
It was a great game. Now, those of you guys that have followed us throughout the year, Chevy and I have been pretty competitive on this, like we were back in our playing days, and we're working through the week, making our picks. And I will remind you that I did pick Toronto, but a lot of that came from the fact when going into this week, Chad Kelly broke his ankle, almost broke it off a week in advance, right?
Yeah,
and nobody gave him a shot, but I did, Chev. I did. I just had this feeling in my bones that they were going to win, and it was that hero call that I made that pushed me up to 3-2. And not only did I win the regular season, I won the playoffs and the Grey Cup, baby. It was all me.
I was going to save this for Studs and Duds and spring it on you during Studs and Duds, because I had picked out a dud for this week.
Well, you can still say. But
then I was going to
let me have my moment.
I let you have your moment. I even took a long pause. So when we talked about how this show came together and the production meetings and the texts and the millions of people's amongst all that chaos of conversation between different people across different platforms, there was a meeting. And in that meeting, we said, guys, listen. Trey said, guys, you cannot end the season on a tie because you can't settle the bet with a tie. And we were going into it in the playoffs. We both had the same record. And I remember saying, well, okay, I got the Bombers. And I said, okay, I'll pick Toronto, but it's okay because I like the underdog. And I thought, honestly, going in, and I don't know if that was in a text or I believe it was at the Hitmen's bar when we were there figuring out the show. I was going to pick Toronto, not just because I had to for the bet, but I did believe in them from before our breakdown, before John Bender gave us a great case for the Argonauts, before Aaron Crawford said, hey, guys, wait a minute. Arbuckle is no slouch. Like, I had this pick locked in. Also for the reason that I know so many guys on that team. Dimitri Maxey was a former teammate of ours. He's the D-line coach. Pete Costanza, Chris Sweet was my former O-line coach. I was teammates with Kadeem Carey, DeVaris Daniels, Josh Bell. I was teammates with, and I believe, I don't even know if he's still there anymore. I might be pulling names out, but those guys that I named are guys I love. I had to text Coach Sweet today and say, listen, Sweeter, I was going to pick you with my heart and my head, but I had to switch my pick for the exact reason that Sheldon, and I'm calling it now. This is going to be my new phrase when we go off script or we do something different. I'm calling it pulling a Sheldon. You pulled a Sheldon on me and you switched it.
See, so now here's the truth. First of all, there was no production meeting that we made our picks, right? Whereas a production meeting where we talked about the fact that, okay, God, it's so obvious that the Bombers are going to be the favorites in this thing. So if we both pick the same team, I said, if we both pick the same team, we should come up with another way to decide the tie, whether it's field goal kickers, long snappers, something else along those lines. But I never committed to the Bombers, and you never committed to Toronto. We just said, how do we avoid a tie? So you know what happened? The week heading into this game, with all of the hoopla and all the press, everybody picking the Bombers, I had to come up with an argument for how Toronto could win this game. I spent 2 days reviewing the stats. Chev, I saw that Arbuckle was a career 67% passer, which doesn't win Grey Cups. You have to be 70% or above, which he was 70% in this game, by the way. I saw that Toronto Argonauts were 5-4 without Chad Kelly, and they were 5-4 with Chad Kelly. And I also saw that Arbuckle beat the Bombers by throwing less than 200 yards earlier in the season. By me trying to find a reason that the Argos could win, I convinced myself that the Argos could win. Even though I know it was probably a lost cause, I wanted to give you the honor of making the call that I thought for sure you would make, because you just like to make the easy picks to get the easy wins.
Are you kidding me?
I made the hero call. I convinced myself that I could do it. And because of that, to the victor goes the spoils.
Hey, listen, first of all, I'm not going to renege because we have a bet and it's officially cemented
you
that
reneged
on
the
it.
first time, but
No, but see, the first time we reneged because we never actually agreed. We just kind of went with picks and we never said, hey, we have something on the line. We said a poutine after the bet was settled. That's like, hey, let's just have a friendly wager. And then after you say you owe me $1 million, I couldn't buy into that. But this
poutine
one
was $18.
Hey,
anyway,
listen,
go on.
But this
I'll take it.
I agreed, and I picked the Bombers because I said, okay, well, I got to pick a team. I picked the Bombers because it would have sucked if we picked the same team. I picked the Bombers. I gave myself reasons because they were the easy reasons. I will pay you that Spalumbo sandwich. I'm hoping that we can do another live event there, maybe do some sort of men's conference mini thing at Spalumbo's. And if we don't, it'll be just you and I, but you're going to get your Spalumbos. But I like what AC Sports Live joins us right after his show. Thanks for joining us, AC. And if you haven't checked them out, AC Sports Live is a fantastic sports show. My man AC said when LeBron left the Cavs to take his talents to Miami, he pulled a nasty.
Not the same thing, AC. AC did me dirty, man. No. Jeff,
Wayne Gretzky,
if you really believe, if that was your pick, you could have made the pick.
It's
and you know what happened after that? All right, let's pick a score.
It's
Let's pick a
showbiz,
score,
baby.
baby.
You know what?
But we're
have.
allowed to pick the same team. Like I said, I did the research. I put in the work. I prepared alongside of the Toronto Argonauts, and I'm every bit a part of that win as they are.
You know what
Right?
Wayne Gretzky did when he left the Oilers? Tell him, Trey. Tell Nasty what Wayne Gretzky did when he left for the LA Kings. Tell us, guys.
He got paid.
He pulled a Nasty.
Oh, no way, man. Yeah, that's he cried. He cried. But you know, there's only one of us crying here, and you could have made the pick, and then we would have settled it with it by picking the score.
But
right?
you know what? When it came down to when it came time to watching the game, I'll tell you what, I was cheering for the Argos. When it was I believe it was 10-10 at the half. I mean, we were having such a good time with the people around us. We were watching the game, but we were also enjoying the moments and the people we were with. But gosh, it was exactly what we thought. It was two evenly matched teams. Toronto didn't surprise us, but it might have surprised a lot of people. Arbuckle was playing some smart football. He was doing the right things. Collaros was too. But then the tide changed when Collaros throws that one pass. His finger got jammed, and we thought it was just a stub finger. There was a little bit of blood. He ran to the locker room. But I believe he said after the game, he could see through his finger. And he had to complete the game with that finger, and it all went downhill there pretty fast. And I'm not going to say it was just Collaros' finger that did him in, but Toronto did intercept the ball twice for touchdowns, one meaningless more towards the end. But yeah, Arbuckle was playing with confidence, and you could see that momentum slowly build in Toronto's favor. That Toronto D-line started playing dominant. It was hard.
No sacks. They only had one sack from a linebacker, but they were dominant. You don't always have to get the sack to take over a game.
Pressure and hitting the quarterback is better than a sack sometimes.
It is. They disrupt him. Zach Collaros ended up throwing 50% with, I think, 3 interceptions, four interceptions.
50
and you can't blame the figure because that's a real thing. Like by the end of the game, he was beaten up. But you know the thing that when we talked about Arbuckle and what he had to do, and this is why to me this was such a great story. And getting away whose pick it was or whatever.
Yeah.
Arbuckle was a career journeyman, never truly got his shot. And what Aaron Crawford said to me was when he said it on the air, he goes, dude, he's a legit quarterback. And he even said whether he got screwed over on a job or whatever, his career just never came together. He was never in quite the right place at the right time. And he also didn't perform in the big game when he needed to. But you know what he did this year? He beat the Bombers earlier in the season, and he came out here throwing 70%, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions against a very good Winnipeg defense. But more than that, he was unpredictable. He connected with 9 different receivers.
Yes.
This is a veteran guy that in the biggest pressure game that you could possibly play, and a guy that, 6 months ago wouldn't have even conceived that he'd be in this position starting in the Grey Cup. He's 30 days away from going home.
Yep.
And he delivered. He ran the offense, and he hit 9 different targets. And he was even on turnovers. That's why they won the game. His veteran presence and his ability to rise to the big game without any experience or very little experience in the situation, dude, the guy was a stud.
Yeah, he was a stud. And you mentioned the 9 different receivers, and of those receivers, I guess the one that had the best day, and it wasn't a breakout day by any means. It was Dijon Brissett, 5 targets, 3 receptions for 45 yards. He gets the outstanding Canadian in the game, but that's the type of game it was for Toronto, was spread the ball around. You know that when a team plays a zone type defense, there's always someone open. Whereas Zach Collaros on the other end, he was going to his go-to guys. Kenny Lawler, Ontario Wilson had a 99-yard game. So he was doing pretty well. But like you said, Arbuckle did what he had to do. He spread the ball around. The Toronto defense showed up big. Watched the D-line, put lots of pressure on Collaros. Obviously, once the finger got hurt, there was an issue there. And Toronto wins the Grey Cup. And it was nice to see. Like I said, again, teasing you about the pick. I'm glad that Toronto won. It's funny, okay, let me ask you this question.
Sure.
Toronto wins with Arbuckle. Are you the same type of happy and excited for the team as if Toronto wins with Chad Kelly? Does it change?
You know, Misha, and I know you. I know your take on this too. We talked about it with Chad Kelly and his issues in the offseason leading into this season. I'm going to let that guy rehab his reputation and show that he's a stronger person.
Yep.
But I'll tell you what, nobody's ever done anything but speak highly of Nick Arbuckle off the field.
Yeah.
And so to watch this happen to a guy that just stuck it out and kept working, this is the best comeback story of all time. I mean, yes, Chad Kelly did it 2 years ago where he stepped in and he won the game, but he didn't have to start. And you see what Chad Kelly does in the playoffs when he has to start. He falls apart. Again, great quarterback. I'm not saying he's not going to learn that, but Arbuckle got stuck in a very tough situation. And I think he's like every guy's quarterback. If I only got my chance, what could I do in that game? And he did something that nobody's ever done before.
And for me, Sheldon, thinking about this game and thinking about that exact question, I was like, when I think about the Toronto Argonauts, I have a lot of connections on that team. People that I really truly love as human beings. Chris Sweet is one of the most hardcore. When he was with Calgary, a lot of his players had a hard time with him, but he has a heart of gold and he loves his players. And I got to be on the O-line when I moved from D-line to O-line, and I was the 6th and 7th man. I got to see how this guy coaches. And sometimes the egos in a football room, you forget what you're there for. And I saw the way this guy prepares and cares about his players. And so for me, I thought, Chad Kelly or no Chad Kelly, I want Chris Sweet to win his Grey Cup. I want Pete Costanza, who anywhere he's gone, he's won, whether it's Calgary, Winnipeg, and now Toronto. I want Ryan Dinwiddie to win his Grey Cup. He was there when I made my comeback a couple of years ago in Calgary. Kadeem Carey, I want him to win his Grey Cup. I wanted all those former Stamps, linebacker McManus. I'm not saying his word.
Something
Winton McManus. Winton
McManus. Yeah.
I'm not even saying it right. Like,
thank you, Trey.
Winton. Yeah. So that's what I'm looking at, and when I looked at Toronto, I know way more guys on that team than I did on Winnipeg. And that's kind of what I asked Aaron Crawford. I said, listen, you got guys, on both teams that you played with. Zach Collaros was your quarterback in Hamilton, but you got all those teams.
And then he lost to him in 2018 when he was with Winnipeg.
Yeah. So maybe he doesn't like him that much, but yeah, sometimes it's hard. But I was happy when Toronto started pulling away in the second half and the game got exciting. I was on board for that. And for me, I know you joke that I always pick the easy team. Last year, I rode Montreal right to the Grey Cup. And when nobody else gave them a shot, I rode them right to the Grey Cup. I always pulled for the underdog. And I don't think they were an underdog on paper if you actually knew football, but they definitely were pegged as the underdog when Chad Kelly went down. So great for the Toronto Argonauts.
And the last thing I'll say is, much like last year, because you did make the call in Montreal when nobody gave them a chance. You picked them because they were the ultimate team. And that's really what it came down to. This shows that it's not just your quarterback, it is your team. And I'm not taking anything away from Arbuckle, but that was a team win. Everybody stepped up, everybody bought in, everybody executed. And that's probably the best team win I've seen from them all season long.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we'll put a close to that. It's The Ride with Chevy and Nasty every Tuesday night, 10:30. Remember, please like and subscribe to our social media pages. You can find us on all Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, Apple Podcast, Spotify. YYC Business hosts our show, a great platform. And we're also on TikTok as of a couple of weeks ago. Sheldon, it's the second segment. I don't know if we did it last week, but we're doing it now. We're going to move on a little bit from the Grey Cup, maybe not. And we got to go.
You want to do the segment?
Yeah, we're doing it now.
Let's do it. Okay, let's do it. Yeah, let's go.
It's time for the Blitz.
Time for the Chevy and Nasty Blitz.
Yeah, it's the Blitz time. Oh, we're doing it twice.
Again.
Trey likes the splitter so much he did it twice. He liked it so much he did it twice. So who's starting this off? Who's kicking it off?
You kick it off this time.
Okay, so listen, we talked about the Grey Cup. We're not putting it to rest just yet. Amidst the action, now I didn't see it live because again, we were so caught up in the moment with all our friends and the Hitmen, and we were watching the game on the big screens. But in all the action of the game, it turns out there was a streaker. And it wasn't a streaker like you would typically think. Like I was at a Stamps game this year, and a guy jumped on the field and he ran across the field. This time, it was a female, and you could see we have black marks because she was completely naked. She was running around the field. I don't know if we have the video of it, but she definitely took a run. She took a fall, and then she got up and she made her way out. Now, the security guards were very friendly with her, Sheldon. They did a good job. They did a good job of corralling her. They escorted her off the field in peace. There was no tackling. Nobody chased her down. They let her do her moment. Sheldon, my question to you for this Blitz is there a double standard when it comes to streakers at sports events, male versus female? What do you think?
Absolutely, there's a double standard. I mean, okay, I've been into a ton of games. I've been in a ton of games. Chev, you've been in some of those games with me when the Riders are in town, and some guy from Regina jumps on this onto the field and just streaks across. They always end up tackled. They end up getting burns and from the turf all over parts of the body that you never want to see get burns. Yeah, there's a bit of a double standard, but at the end of the day, Chev, I thought this kind of got out of the game years ago. Where did this come from? When was the last time you've seen a streaker?
I don't know where it came from. I saw one at the Stamps game this year. I've seen one a few times. I don't know where it came from, but let's have a look at where she came from because we actually have the video. Trey, hit it. I like they play the Bad Boys song. You know, Trey says we have a safe video. I thought, okay, maybe we had one with a little bit of blurring in it. He had such a safe video, I couldn't even tell what was going on there. Thanks.
I saw the black bars.
If you go online, guys, you go on Twitter, type in Grey Cup streaker. You'll see lots of exposure if you care to. But yeah, I thought security handled it well. They let her do her thing. She fell. She's like, no one came to get me. And
she's forever banned from BC Place to going to that stadium ever again. So yeah, bit of a double standard, but at the same time, same result. Chev, Toronto Maple Leafs, Jordan Reeves was given a 5-game suspension for the face check that he gave to Darnell Nurse the other night. Was watching it back, was that a careless play or was that just another targeted head hit that we need to see gone?
I keep looking at that video, and I mean, Ryan Reeves, he's a beast, right? We've seen his fights. He's there for one purpose, to be a physical, intimidating purpose. I think in this one, he went a little too far. To me, it was a lot greasy. Darnell Nurse coming out of the corner. I think it was a dirty play. I think it was a dirty play. I think he deserved the 5 games. It wasn't unintentional. Like I know the hit was intentional, but I also think the shoulder to the head was intentional. Sometimes the hit is intentional, but the damage and the point of contact, you can tell the person didn't intend. But in this one, I was trying to go back and forth. I was trying to give the big man some grace because I like the big men in the game. I like the big tough guys. I think Reeves is a great player. Played with his brother Jordan in Saskatchewan, by the way. But yeah, I think it was a dirty hit, and I think he deserves the 5 games. I'm going to add a little bit to that. My Montreal Canadiens blanked the Oilers last night, just in case there's any Oilers fans here that want to know if the Habs can beat them. Shut them out, baby. Shut them out, baby. Sheldon.
I'll tell you, I got a comment on that one too, though.
Okay.
So I was reading this. So first off, to me, it wasn't even close. That was a dirty hit. That's the kind of thing the NFL has been trying to get out of the game, and they largely have. It absolutely had to happen. But for
NFL,
yeah, in the NFL, the direct hit to the head. They're getting that out of the game. And this one to me was absolutely a targeted face check. But the best comment of the night that I saw was the punishment should be that the Toronto Maple Leafs have to give him 20 minutes every night of ice time. And that will help get these guys out of the game. Take a guy that's only there for one reason and put him on the ice and make him play. That's all I got, Chef. Next.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, next. We've been following the train wreck, Sheldon. That's the New York Jets all season. I don't know why we've been following it, but Aaron Rodgers been very polarizing guy. We talked about the firing of Robert Saleh. We talked about bringing in Devontae Adams. We talked about Aaron Rodgers calling out his receivers that were there, the kicker that missed. Like, it's been a train wreck. Most recently, they lose to the Colts, the lowly Colts, Joe Flacco, Anthony Richardson, and now the latest casualty is their GM, Joe Douglas, fired. I mean, it's a train wreck in New York. We know the reboot is coming yet again. They haven't been good since I played there, and they weren't good when I was there either. And that was 20 years ago. Is this the end of Aaron Rodgers' career, or will he get a shot somewhere else? What do you think?
Well, I think it is. Like, and they've been, there's one of those funky organizations. You said they weren't good when you were there. They weren't good for 20 years before you were there. Yeah. But even right now, what I read today, owner Woody Johnson had come out earlier in the season asking to bench Rodgers, demanding to bench Rodgers in favor of Tyrod Taylor. And that's why the first coach was fired. We were speculating that maybe Aaron Rodgers had something to do with it. It is the coaches and the GM that were loyal to him. And now, since they're both been removed, I think this has to be the end. And I don't think any Jets fan is unhappy as they're going to be with their organization. I don't think there's anybody left in the city of New York that is going to go to the wall and stand up for Aaron Rodgers.
Well, that's going to be a really tough call, because if Aaron Rodgers gets released by the Jets, he's going to go on a tirade against Woody Johnson and his Johnson & Johnson company and all his pharmaceuticals and all that.
He already has.
But I think it's, what? He's one dick pick away from his career being over, like Brett Favre. He might have another team. See, the problem with this is this. Aaron Rodgers, I don't know if I said Aaron Johnson. Aaron Rodgers still has some good football in him. He definitely has the capacity to be a great mentor in terms of what he's seen, what he's accomplished, and what he can still do. The problem is he doesn't seem to be the guy that could take that role. I could see Aaron Rodgers jumping into a situation in Chicago to mentor a young Caleb Williams, who has a very similar style, very athletic, can move the pocket. I could see him going there and doing something there to help out. The problem is Aaron Rodgers doesn't seem to be the guy that would want that role. And he is that guy that when he goes into a locker room, just because of his presence, not saying that he actively does that, but he could divide a locker room. I remember when I got released by the Stamps, and I really wanted to mentor a young guy as the next long snapper. I thought, my legacy, whatever. But what I wanted to do to give back to the game was find a young guy, teach him all my tricks, and watch him and cheer for him, kind of like Aaron Crawford was. And the Stamps told me, he said, listen, we can't have you in the building. We can't have you in the building because so long as you're there, the kickers are always going to gravitate to you. You're like their security blanket. And so a guy like Aaron Rodgers, going to a team where they want to get a young guy confident and ready to play, if he shows any level of ability better than the rookie, of course the receivers are going to gravitate towards him. Of course the running backs are going to and then it's going to cause a division. So for me, because I don't see Aaron Rodgers being that guy that willingly be a mentor to young guys, I think it's over after this. I don't think anyone brings him in. Kind of like a Cam Newton. He still had the talent. Cam Newton had a way more talent than I think Aaron Rodgers did at the end of his days. And I think people didn't give him a shot because they didn't want the possibility that they outperform the guy that's there and it causes a rift. So I think he's done. I do think he's done.
Yeah, he's straight. I've never been in a locker room with the guy. I don't know the guy. He seems to bring a big chip on the shoulder, trying to prove everybody wrong. And that's not conducive to being like a mentor to a young guy. No, agreed.
Yeah. Let's go on. You give me the last one here.
I think I just gave you that one.
No,
okay, here we go. Oh, no, you're right. Okay. Winning back to the Grey Cup. Okay. And after the greatest moment of his life, Kadeem Carey, cut by the Stamps last year, took the opportunity to take some shots at his former club, including Dave Dickenson, calling him the problem. He called him out right after the game. Chev, if you're a Stamps fan and you hear Carey's comments, and they're up there right now, right or wrong, are you worried about his future? And I think we're talking about Dickinson here.
Well, I don't know if I'm worried about Dave's future. I guess we'll have to unpack this one a little bit, because again, this one will take us to the break. First of all, like it or not, Kadeem Carey winning the Grey Cup, it seems like the timing was odd. I mean, maybe it was just a cathartic release of, you know what, when he went to Toronto, it wasn't all smiles and thanks for the opportunity, Calgary. I think he was really hurt by being released. He was internally. Part of the problem was he was hurt a number of times over the last couple of years, and he couldn't stay healthy, and they had to find different guys like Dedrick Mills and Peyton Logan, and some of the guys that were playing for the Stamps this year. They let him go because, you know what? He's making a lot of money, and again, sports is trust, right? You're going to pay a guy a lot of money if he's got to stay on the field. So you can understand the business decision, why they let him go, and great for Kadeem. He got an opportunity with a team that won the Grey Cup. And I think it was Aaron Crawford that said it. He said, Brady Oliveira is a special running back, but Kadeem Carey, this guy is a unit. And he proved it. He proved it all year. He was the second leading rusher in the CFL, and he proved it in that game. So it was a little bit awkward, the timing, because you should be excited in the moment. You won the Grey Cup, the greatest moment ever. But he chose that moment to put the Stamps on blast. And again, I don't know if I'm too worried if I'm Dave Dickinson, because he made the moves. He pulled the triggers. Next year is the year where he's got to see the fruits of what he just sowed right after the season. And there's still a little bit more sowing to do. But if I'm a Stamps fan, I got to be worried. Like even me, like I don't know what's going on in the locker room. You and I know Dave. I love Dave. I think he's great. I think he's a great coach. But yeah, he made some moves at the end. He fired Mark Killam. I knew Mark Killam since 2004. He was my trainer before he became a defensive linebacker coach, then a defensive assistant, then offensive assistant, then special teams coach, then assistant head coach. Like
I think this goes to the point of what he's saying, though. Like you say, I don't know if I would have done that after the game. I think that's what drives this guy. At the beginning of your career, you're motivated to make the team. At the end of your career, your last few years, you're motivated to show that you still got it. And the Stamps clearly turned their back on him. And so it didn't show it in that quote. But the other quote that he had is, I look around this game and I look around this league. I look at all these guys in the playoffs that used to share a locker room with me, with the Calgary Stampeders. You can fire us. You can fire Mark Killam, but you guys are the ones that are sitting at home watching us on TV. We're not the problem. And to me, that was a very powerful statement. I haven't been in that locker room for a long time, Chev, but if I am a Stamps fan, that is planting some seeds of doubt. And I think Dave and Huff are going to have to take some aggressive moves. And I know they don't like being public, but they are going to have to make some aggressive moves and take a stand to kind of advertise their vision for what the Calgary Stampeders are going forward, because that was a powerful statement in my books.
Oh yeah. They need to reestablish the brand of what it is. And yeah, I would say that, they know what they're up against. The Stamps know what they're up against behind closed doors. This kind of put it in the public. And yeah, if you're a Stamps fan, you're a little bit worried because, I mean, he said it. I'm not saying it. You're not saying it, but he's playing in the league. He said, we view the Stampeders as a joke. That's a very powerful statement. When you say one of the teams that was the class of the league, I mean, they made the playoffs, was it 20 consecutive years? Since I was there and beyond. This is the first year they haven't made the playoffs in 20 years. And guys are, and you say, we talk about the guys that were with the Stamps, Kadeem Carey, Wynton McManus, DeVaris Daniels, Nick Arbuckle, the coaching staff, from Ryan Dinwiddie to Pete Costanza to Chris Sweet. There's a lot of former Stamps that are no longer with the Stamps building Grey Cup dreams and legacies with other teams. And the question might be, well, why? And I think if you're a Stamps fan, you got to wonder. But at the same time, your leadership group is Dave and Huff, who's up there. And maybe they've got to rework how they do stuff. We talked about during the year, the Stamps philosophy, and this is not speaking badly, but they always said, we don't pay our stars. If they want the biggest money, they got to go somewhere else. If they want to be on a team that wins and has an opportunity to compete for a Grey Cup, they stay here. Well, guess what? They haven't competed for a Grey Cup in about 4 years. And so why would guys stay for less money if they can go compete for a Grey Cup elsewhere and make more money? So they're going to have to, rethink that philosophy and understand how to adjust, because what do they say? This definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result. And it's not going to happen for them overnight for sure, but they've got to make some changes. And I think they're well on their way. I mean, they made some changes and they're going to stick with it. Just like, New York Jets made a bunch of changes this year. They didn't work. Well, it's time to retool. Well, the same thing with the Stamps, whether it's, Jake Mayer, whether they think it's Mark Killam being there or not, whether it was Brent Monson, they fired those guys. They're going to bring in new guys, and that's going to be what they bank next season's success on. And it either gets better or worse. And as Tom Higgins said, it never stays the same.
All right, guys. Well, that's it. That's a great take. And let's not forget, before we start panicking, they did write the book on successful franchises over the last 20 years, and they're going through a dip. We'll see how they handle it. Guys, we're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we've got Studs and Duds.
Performance Freight Management is a global logistic freight shipping company that will handle the entire shipping process for any package to any country. Whether it be a simple truck shipment from your office to Toronto or your company importing generators from China, PFM Freight handles it all. We have the expertise and technology to handle any shipping requirements. Skip the guesswork and let us take the shipping pain off your plate.
We're back. It's The Ride with Chevy and Nasty, 10:30 on Tuesday nights. We're brought to you by Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, and YYC Business. If you are on the please go check out the YYC Business platform. It's a platform across Canada, but in Calgary, it's obviously YYC. They do a great job promoting local businesses. It's a network of local businesses. Our show's on there. There's some great people associated with YYC Business. Of course, our friend Bruno and Adam. So love to give them some props. Performance Freight Management is Daryl. We Drone Real Estate Media is my man Nasty sitting below me. And you can find us every week at Chevy and Nasty on all our socials. Guys, thanks for joining us tonight. We love doing this. We talked about Movember. We talked about the camaraderie it is to do this, to do live events. And every week we do things that, make us laugh, make us cry, just make us think. And this week, Sheldon, are we going to hit the Studs and Duds right away, or what do you think?
Yeah, let's jump into Studs and Duds. Trey, hit it.
Studs and Duds.
Go ahead,
right,
Sheldon.
This week, my stud, a guy I hardly been following at all, J.K. Dobbins. He missed drafted in 2020, 2021. He missed the entire season with an ACL tear in the preseason. 2022, he re-injures it, missing half the season. 23, Achilles tear in week 1. This guy played no meaningful football his whole career. This year, he's 10th in the NFL. He's 6th in rushing touchdowns. And on Sunday night, Trey, he did this. Do we have the video, Trey?
Do we have?
We might not have the video, but he busts out a 38-yard run. Do we have the video, Trey?
I don't know.
Oh, we don't have the video. Okay, I didn't get it in on by deadline, I guess. But he busts out I think it was a 36-yard a touchdown run in the fourth quarter. It was looking like a sure tie going to overtime, and they handed him the ball just to maybe get them into field goal range. And he takes it the distance. Guy's a stud. But my thing is this: running backs, the injuries that I just named off to you, it used to be, Chev, if you had an Achilles tendon tear, you were done. An ACL, no team would touch you. But this guy had gone through 3 of his 4 seasons. He hadn't even played a game, or maybe half of a game. He came back and he was a star on Sunday night. It was absolutely amazing. I love the perseverance stories, the underdog stories. that did good. Amazing.
Yeah. Well, and that list of injuries, I mean, yeah, like you said, back in the day, we saw Aaron Rodgers come back from an Achilles tear, but again, those injuries that you listed, I mean,
Running backs are different, man. When you can no longer shift the way you used to shift. And the beautiful thing about the touchdown, I wish we had the clip, is a zone to the right where he had to show patience. It was designed to cut back, but a lot of young, inexperienced running backs hit that hole hard. And they give it away because they don't give the line time to develop and to cut off the middle linebacker. The line was beautiful in front of him. He made the late shift back to the weak side and just took it the distance. It was beautiful.
And it was against, I mean, I know the Bengals haven't been doing well this year, but the Bengals are a legit team. They're just, something's off with them. But when you do that against a team, especially the Bengals were charged up, they needed to win. And they were not going to let anyone just run all over them. It's an even bigger feat. I like that for a stud because, yeah, like you said, comeback stories, the underdog stories, that's us. My stud of the week, I guess, comeback stories, underdog stories. This will be a little bit of a controversial pick, but my stud is going to be none other than Iron Mike Tyson. So obviously we're going to have a take on the fight. We talked about it, but Mike Tyson, for those of you that don't understand, I mean, I'm not talking about his character, but in terms of being a 58-year-old man, because I actually read something on him today after I picked him as my stud, and I don't know if he's my stud anymore, but I'm going to go with what I picked. Mike Tyson, 50-year-old man. I knew he had his ulcer reaction this summer. I didn't realize how serious it is. He lost 25 pounds and had 8 blood transfusions. And here he is less than 6 months later, fighting in a huge fight. And I mean, yeah, we'll talk about the fight in a second, but to at the age that he's at, to look like he looked, I mean, everyone was watching, 56 million people watching around the world on Netflix. The stream was crashing and all that, but Mike didn't look too bad coming out the gates. I think he wore down pretty quickly. But for him, as he mentioned here, and so it's a little small for me to read, but for him to show up, 58-year-old man, pick himself up off the mat, which was the proverbial mat this summer, when maybe he could have died and not been here, and come back and last 8 rounds against a young guy that was up and coming, trying to swing, trying to fight. I think just for him showing up, he's a stud, because that's a big deal, man. Like. Now you want to talk about the fight?
I'll tell you, no, we'll talk about that. We'll talk that after the does, but I'll say this. What was inspiring wasn't that he showed up. I saw the training in the documentary. I was inspired as a 50-year-old watching the way he hit it. It was an inspiration, not the result I wanted, but we can talk about that later. Chevy, you want me to start this one off?
Yeah, go for it.
So this one was interesting to me. So obviously the Taylor Swift Eras Tour just took place in Toronto with 5 sold-out shows. 500,000 people flocking into the city just to watch Taylor Swift, their icon and hero, sing, exchange bracelets, break out into chorus on airplanes and on streets and in stores. But for one girl flying out of Vancouver, she's a 35-year-old lady flying out with her mom that are just both huge Swiftie fans. They flew from Vancouver to Calgary and had a layover. Cross security, went to cross back. As they're going back into security to finish the flight to Toronto, the security agents realized she had a bag full of beads.
Oh, no.
Friendship beads to spell out Swiftie and love you, and we've got this. And she got flagged for carrying beads onto an airplane, and she had to dispose of over $200 worth of arts and crafts that they were going to make bracelets and hand out to all the Swiftie fans. Like, come on. My thing is this. Everybody knows that Swifties love their friendship bracelets, and everybody's traveling with arts and crafts. Was it really necessary, Calgary? Like, was it really necessary? All the nasty things we could be bringing onto an airplane, were Taylor Swift friendship beads really worth wrecking this girl's chance to go out there and be a good Swiftie? Granted, 35 years old, maybe you should know better. Maybe you should have showed up earlier so you could have put it into your checked luggage. I just thought it was kind of sad, Chev.
Yeah, kind of sad. I mean, we go back to our shows last year, and the friendship bracelet is literally how Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce met. I even know about the we brought him up when we talked about the Deadpool Wolverine movie, where they had friendship bracelets made up between Deadpool and Wolverine and Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. It's a big thing. So yeah, I think it's kind of a dud dud move, especially with how big this is. And people should know that, yeah, it's kind of a dud, rain on the parade, rain on the excitement. I don't think that's too fun. My dud, Sheldon, is, people that know me know I love the sport of pickleball. I played a lot in the fire halls when I was in the fire halls. I like to get a game whenever I can. Pickleball is growing to be one of the fastest growing sports in North America. It's not just for elderly people like it kind of had the sense of being in the past, but pickleball is a great sport. My dud this week is this guy in the pink shorts this week. He took it a little too far. Watch this. Kick the dude in the face. Now, that guy got excited that he won the point. I played in the fire hall. I've seen rackets fly. I've seen guys get upset. I mean, I'm pretty competitive when I play a sport, and you want to win. The guy got fired up. He missed. You could tell he missed the high five on the handshake, and he knocked the guy's paddle out of his hand. I guess Pink Shorts was pissed off. Kicks him in the face. There's no place for that. I mean, listen. You take your pickleball seriously, but is this beer league pickleball? Is this what's happening now? Is it like slap shot of the pickleball leagues? In fact, I heard they're making a Ben Stiller pickleball movie a la dodgeball. But yeah, this is my dud of the week. There's no place for this in rec sports.
You know what? Okay, for legal purposes, I'm going to absolutely agree with you that there's no place for this in pickleball, and I don't think anybody's going to argue that. But you've played men's league hockey. I've played men's league flag football. Every team has that guy. F yeah. And he's like overly exuberant, celebrating in your face, making eye contact with you. And then he slaps it out of his hand. Dude, I'll tell you what, the punishment didn't fit the crime, but I think everybody has been in that situation where I wish somebody would just kick that guy in the face. You know what I mean? Yeah, you shouldn't. Yeah, now you don't do it because that's very uncivil. But there's a side of me that says, you know what? Act like you've been there before. Just smile and celebrate when you get off the course. But when you're like cussing, looking the guy in the eye and swatting the racket out of his hand, bad things might happen.
Yeah, no, it was pretty gross. We've seen it in the NHL too. That you think about the Todd Bertuzzi hit, right? You think about the stick swinging after play. Was it Tim Hunter? Who did Tim Hunter smash back in the day? I think it was Pierre Turgeon. Kind of ended his career, right? Like Turgeon scores a goal. I think it was Tim Hunter smash. The one guy was being a douche, celebrating what he does. I got a guy I play ball hockey with, not in one of the scrimmages I play with. He's kind of a douchey guy, but I'm not going to kick him in the face. No. I might.
You might see it in your head. Like you've been in that situation before, though, where this guy's like calling you out and over, like just doing it in the wrong way at the wrong time.
Yeah, but
something.
Yeah, I triggered something, but not kick you in the face triggered. Like if I'm playing ball hockey, and guys,
you've never thought about something like that.
You know what I would do if I was playing pickleball in the context of that sport? The next time I play the guy, there's a point where the ball's up high in the sky. I'm gonna volley it straight for his face. It's like the brush back in baseball, right? You know what I mean? Like there's ways without kicking a guy in the face.
Totally.
But maybe a guy in the pink shorts was having a bad day, and he decided to take it out on that guy's mouth.
I'm just saying we've all thought about it. None of us have done it except for this guy.
This guy, and this guy's probably going to get assault charge, just like remember we talked about was it the Washington Commanders fan that beat up those two kids a few weeks ago? So I mean, there's no place for that. I mean, these days with cameras and everything, back in the day, guys would think they're tough guys. Now you're going to jail. Someone's going to press charges on you. So you're a dud, Pig Shorts. You're a dud. Do we want to talk about the boxing match, or do we want to talk about sequels that should not be made? We're almost done.
Your call. Take it where you want to go. I think maybe the boxing match has already been said, but
Okay,
I
okay,
do
well,
have a couple.
let's have a couple of thoughts because we built it up. It was a great spectacle on Netflix. Jake Paul did a phenomenal job marketing this thing. Netflix did a phenomenal job marketing it. I was excited for it. It got my entire family sitting down on a Friday night watching Netflix for a bunch of hours. I thought that was great. My boys weren't playing video games. We were invested. The undercards were pretty decent. When it got to the two ladies fighting, that was an amazing tilt.
Amazing. Yeah.
The 78,000 people in Texas Stadium, they're not there for the Cowboys anymore. I thought everything was great until the third round. Until after Mike threw that big flurry of punches in the first, he connected with one on Jake Paul right to the mouth, and then he just stopped throwing punches, and Jake was hugging him for 2 rounds, and then it kind of just was a dance. But we've seen
so my take, and you nailed it. Like Mike came out aggressively, and there's a lot of things, a lot of criticism about, well, Mike wasn't throwing punches or whatnot, but he came out, he won the first 2 rounds. But here's the thing that you and I were talking about. What is this going to look like? What do you look like at 58? Does he have it? You're like, yeah, he can. I was like, I'm not sure. And for me, the whole thing was answered that night. Take away the medical situation from in August. But Mike did good for 2 rounds. But the truth of the matter is, Jake Paul trained to stay away from Tyson.
Yeah.
Right. In a regulation boxing ring, Jake Paul had the ability to back out. So Mike's flurries were going nowhere. And at the end of the day, it's fair to say that a younger guy with more mobility will beat an older guy that can't move the way he used to do. If they were to shrink that ring down to 6x6, right? A proverbial fight in a phone booth, Mike Tyson absolutely could have knocked Jake Paul out, right? It absolutely could have happened. But in a regulation ring, it's kind of disappointing because all Jake Paul did, as he should have, he was training to win. He wasn't training to stand there and punch toe to toe. He went in, he pulled out, and Mike Tyson just didn't have the reach and the range that he used to have.
Yeah, in the first 2 rounds, Jake was hugging Mike. And you think about Mike where he was in June with 8 blood transfusions and training. I mean, yeah, he's training fast, but once someone starts hugging on you and you're not able to move, there's a lot of effort exerted. And I think he just got worn out by that in the first 2 rounds. By third round, like you said, Jake was just training to move around, throw a punch here. He has a longer reach than Mike. Mike wasn't throwing those punches. If people are saying it was fixed, I don't know if the fix was on. But I will say we've seen this before. There were Mike Tyson fights. I remember back in the day when you bought a pay-per-view and people were spending $60, $70 and they show up and the main event was a non-factor and people would leave disappointed. And for sure, if you were in that arena, you were disappointed if you paid for a ticket because nothing happened. Nothing happened. And you're probably disappointed that nothing had. No one, like Jake Paul didn't get his ass beat. Mike Tyson didn't get knocked out. No, he didn't even throw one good solid punch to at least show that he still got it. And I think that's why people were upset because they didn't see anything. But if they look back, and again, like me, I pay $20.99 a month for Netflix. I watch movies all month and I got to watch this spectacle and watch that amazing fight right before. I'm okay with the event. Would I like to see Mike Tyson get in the ring again? No. Do I care if Jake Paul gets in the ring again? No, but I know what's going to happen. The next time there's going to be an event, he's going to hype it up and everyone's going to want to watch it. Everyone's going to want to watch it because it's going to be against someone we want to see fight. And the thing with this, sorry, my mic keeps falling. I don't know why. The thing with this is that Jake Paul at some point is going to have to step in the ring with someone who's a ranked contender. And at that point, we're going to see what happens. Is this guy a real boxer or is he just a hype machine? And for now, to me, he's just a hype machine. I still don't think he's a real boxer. He didn't. Yeah.
But maybe
he's a real fighter.
I agree because he's never truly beaten a real boxer before, and I don't know if that's his feature, if he's ever going to do it. But let's take out the positive out of it. For me, this was a sociological experiment. It got guys like me thinking at 50 years old, can I make a comeback? Can I train? Yeah. And that's why I said earlier when you called Tyson your stud, I watched that training and I was like, for me, dude, it just got me going about what's still inside of me, right? It inspired me. And not only that, now as a promoter, not as a fighter, but as a promoter, he said even in the documentary, his proudest moment was his fight in Madison Square Gardens, where he had those two girls were the feature fight of the night and brought in, they're the biggest prize ever fought for by women. Now, this event was the biggest live boxing event ever in the state of, or for women ever in the, I think for boxing in general, ever in the state of Texas. Well, that's a big state, and that was a big event. So maybe he's better as a promoter than a fighter. Maybe at some point, I mean, it's Jake Paul. He's still going to be a big part of the center of the event. The attention is going to be on him. But you know what? The two fights before Tyson, I really enjoyed.
I did too.
And I was even mad when Katie, what was her name now? Katie beat Cassandra, whatever. I thought that was a bad call by the judges at the end, right? She had splits her eye open.
Hey, Taylor.
I don't know who these girls are, but I was thoroughly entertained and I was mad at the decision. My attention. I will watch if there's a third rematch, which I'm sure there won't be. I will watch it when he throws the next event. You know what? I'll probably watch it.
Yeah, boxing is always trilogies. And it's funny. There was a tweet today. Evander Holyfield basically.
Toronto.
Evander Holyfield saying, Tyson, I want to fight in the trilogy against you, you know, and Tyson replied to him online, you know, our trilogy is our friendship. So I don't think there's going to be a Evander Holyfield Tyson match, but I appreciate, because you know me, I always say that I have another October and November in the tank for long snapping for a team in the Grey Cup. So whenever I see a story like an old guy coming out of retirement, a la Mike Tyson, a la Tom Brady, you know, these types, I really pull for those guys, because, you know, I was that guy. I had that opportunity to go back, play for the Stampeders and get one more run. I didn't get it, but God, I was ready, and I sure would have liked to see what it looked like. And so I appreciate that story. And is it the end? I don't know. But, you know, when you talk about coming back and talking about things that should be laid to rest and sequels that shouldn't be, this week, Sheldon, a movie is coming out in the theaters, and you know me, I love the pop culture, I love the movies. This week we've got Gladiator Part 2 coming out, and I don't know if I'm excited to watch this movie, because my question to you is, you know, do we need a Gladiator Part 2? Like, you know, Gladiator Part 1 was one of the greatest movies I'd ever seen at that time, right? Like, you know, anyone that got to see it at the theater for the first time, and Russell Crowe as Maximus Aurelius, he was phenomenal in that movie, and so is Joaquin Phoenix. It was just one of the most phenomenal films of all time. Do we need the sequel all these years later?
You know what? First off, Chev, I love the transition there. That was a great transition into the question. And you know, I don't want to put a spoiler alert out to anybody or wreck anybody who hasn't seen Gladiator 1, but I have seen it. They died. Like, so, like, from my standpoint, you know, this kind of reeks to me of the problem after COVID, and you know, society's been going through these big changes there. We're trying to figure out what entertainment is, what is not. This to me just reeks of Hollywood saying, you know what, let's throw out the budget. Let's bring in a bunch of big names and shoot something spectacular. But for myself, I watched the trailer when you brought this up to me, because I wasn't even aware it was happening. And I watched the trailer and I was like, God, I don't even know if I want to see this. Like, they have this young emperor that's like got crazy hair and crazy eyes, and he's acting over the top. And I'm sure there's some emperors that were over the top, but I just feel like they're trying to tell a story of a spectacle to draw us in to watch the movie. Whereas the original Gladiator was a great movie. When I called this a sociological experiment with the Tyson fight, that's what Gladiator was. Can a guy go from rags, from riches to rags, and find his way back out after losing his talent?
He got you. He got Trey's always on the quick on the switch. He had.
Yeah. So anyway, to answer your question quickly, this one reeks of a movie that didn't need to be made. They're bringing Denzel Washington. They're bringing in, sure, because he's going to bring in a crowd. They've got guys riding on rhinos, because that's exciting to see. They've got boats in the Coliseum, which I'll admit that's why I'm probably going to end up seeing it, because they actually did do that. They filled the Coliseum with water.
Yeah,
and it looks kind of cool.
But
I don't think it had to be made.
You know, I see Pedro Pascal in the movie poster there. I mean, will I watch it? Maybe, like, out of curiosity, I'll probably watch it, but I might not. Like, I used to love movies. And the magic of movies. I love the magic of movies. I love the theater. You know, I love going to theater, popcorn. That's a me thing. That's like, this show is for me. A movie is really for me. But I don't know, like, it's not sparking me. There's other movies that, I love the original and I didn't even see a sequel. You think about, look at some of the movies up there. Home Alone, right? There's a million sequels. None will compare to the first one.
Okay, yeah, that's right.
The Matrix was
Matrix. Matrix had to happen. The sequels had to happen.
It had to happen, and it did tell the story. But Matrix, first of all, for me, was the single most craziest movie experience I've ever witnessed. Up until that point, action scenes were done a certain way. The best action movie up until that point was Blade with Wesley Snipes. And then I remember the Imperial Movie Theater in Montreal, big old kind of opera house. And I watched a lady fly across a building and land. I was like, what did I just witness? And the effects in the Matrix was something that was never done before. And, but yeah, then you look at Taken. Yeah. Okay. The guy's daughter. Yeah. Taken was an amazing movie, but I think they're at Taken 7 now. Like, when you start making so many sequels, you open yourself up for spoofs. Like, I love 300. The 300 was another movie along the lines of Gladiator. Like, you cannot beat the 300. Well, they made 300 Part 2. It didn't.
Okay. Now, here's where I'm going to totally disagree with you. So first off, The Matrix needed sequels. It did. It was a story. It was an amazing science fiction story. For me, Taken. Okay, it's like Bruce Willis in Die Hard. You got a character that does awesome stuff. He never died, so let him keep doing it. He's got a
love Die Hard Part 2.
He's got a special set of skills, Chev. Let him continue. But for me, what defines a sequel that doesn't need to be made is, like our commenter Rob Evans just writes in Backdraft. Yeah, there is no sequel to Backdraft. Forrest Gump, no sequel to Forrest Gump. The Hangover. Yeah, it was a couple of, like, there's some funny parts, but that story could have ended. Speed, Keanu Reeves.
There's a bomb on a bus. What do you do?
Yeah, I mean, like, there's certain things that don't need sequels, and there's certain things that I can't understand. But the fact that Gladiator, it used some historic names, but it wasn't based on a historical event.
Yeah,
and to take some more names, throw them in the mix, throw in a guy riding a rhino, throw in Denzel Washington, who's an amazing actor, by the way. So I also might go just to watch him. But they had female Centurions. There was no female Centurions. Well, I mean, this one just feels like a Hollywood produced way of getting the money out of my bank account and into theirs.
Yeah, and again, when it's a self-contained story that doesn't leave it really open for a sequel, when you throw out a sequel, it's like, the only time, honestly, and there might be others, like, you talk about The Godfather. It's a trilogy. I get it.
It needed a sequel.
Star Wars had, 9 films, if not more. You saw where it went.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Yeah. But the one that, for me, that if one, going back, you think about James Bond. That's a character that you could tell different stories with. Mission Impossible series. But the one that I didn't think needed a sequel, like, again, an epic movie that you thought, okay, this was a self-contained cinematic experience. It was great when you saw it. It's like, didn't need a sequel. Was Top Gun, the original Top Gun. Yeah. However, all these years later, last year, they make Top Gun 2 Maverick. And I got to tell you, that movie was fantastic. Like, to me, that movie outdid the original, and it brought that love of the jet fighter pilot and that to a whole new audience. And they brought it bigger, better, faster than they did it years ago. And it elevated what the original Top Gun was. I remember watching the original with my boys, with Brittany, and then we went to the theater and watched the other one. That worked. I really have a hard time seeing this one working. It's kind of like Predator 1. Like Predator 1, when Arnold kills the Predator at the end, the Predator blows himself up and it's a nuclear bomb in the entire forest. The movie is over. Dutch gets in the helicopter full of ashes. He flies home. C'est fini. I didn't need to see Danny Glover. I didn't need to see all the other guys after that came in the Predator sequels. I mean, they did a great job. There's a lot of franchise stuff there, but yeah, for Gladiator, they should have just let it rest, maybe re-release it, remaster it, make it beautiful again. But I don't know. I don't think anyone can match Russell Crowe. I mean, in that moment when he looked like a gladiator, not now he looks like John Goodman, but when he looked like the Gladiator, there was no better actor out there. Like, he was the man. And for me, I think they're ruining it a bit by opening it up. That's my personal opinion, but I guess I'll have to watch it to see. Sheldon, it's overtime. We hit everything we wanted to hit. The studs and duds. I didn't really name you my dud, but I kind of did. I will pay off my sandwich. This was a great episode. I had so much fun. The Grey Cup is done. The CFL season's done. A little bit of a letdown. Now the CFL is going to be in the midst of finding a new commissioner and choosing the next direction. Our live episode went off without a hitch. We're going to be looking for the next opportunity. Next week, there's going to be more questions on the Blitz. There's going to be new people that step up as studs and duds. But the one thing that's going to be constant is me, Nasty, and Trey will be here to bring you the ride with Chevy and Nasty. We hope that you guys will join us again. Guys, thanks so much. Thanks, Performance Freight Management, We Drone Real Estate Media, YYC Business, and all of you for following us. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.